The controller batteries are 3 AAA batteries that must be purchased separately and are not included with the paper drone. Unscrew the battery cover on the back of the controller and insert the batteries in the proper direction. Then close it again and tighten the screws. The controller has one left and one right control stick. Center auto takeoff and landing and forward and reverse trim buttons. Button for headless mode on the bottom left, and left and right trim buttons on the bottom right. The drone battery is charged by plugging it into the included charger and connecting the type A USB to a laptop or PC. The LED lights up red when charging and turns off when charging is complete. Connecting to a quick charger is not recommended due to the risk of overcharging. Make sure that each part of the paper drone is securely fastened to prevent vibration. Also make sure that the propellers are at the same height and securely fastened. If the controller defaults to Mode 2 and you want to use Mode 1, hold down the trim button on the bottom right of the controller while powering it on. If you turn the controller off, it will revert back to the default Mode 2 and the instructions here will be based on Mode 2. Here's how to hold the controller. Place the thumbs of both hands on the stick, with the other fingers supporting the base of the controller. The rest of the controls are based on the thumb-only method, and you should hold the controller comfortably against your stomach. Pushing forward or pulling backward, relative to the right stick will move the drone forward and backward. While moving the right stick left or right will move the drone left and right. Pushing the left stick forward or pulling it backward will cause the drone to ascend and descend. While moving it left or right will cause the drone to turn left and right. Pay attention to the direction of the drone before flying. After connecting the battery to the drone, the blue and red LED will flash. The blue part is the front of the drone, and the red part is the back of the drone. For safety reasons, the drone should be controlled by the pilot from the back of the drone. Insert the battery into the battery compartment at the top of the drone, and connect correct direction. After that, you need to calibrate the gyro, which helps to stabilize the drone's movement, and should be done before every takeoff. To calibrate the gyro, connect the battery to the drone, turn on the controller, and move both sticks, all the way to 5 o'clock direction, and watch the LED flash. If headless mode failed or other malfunction is identified, a factory reset can be performed, by moving both sticks all the way to 7 o'clock direction. And the LED will light up. Normally, you only need to calibrate the gyro. The auto takeoff and landing buttons are activated, by the 2 trim buttons in the center of the controller. After connecting the controller to the drone and calibrating the gyros, pressing the up button in the center will automatically take off, and pressing down will automatically land the drone. This drone has an automatic altitude hold function, but it does not have a position hold function. So even with the gyro calibration, the drone can move in one direction, after takeoff, even if you do not operate it. Therefore, you must initially use the right stick to keep the drone in place after takeoff. The basic operation is to move the stick in small increments, applying just enough force to keep the drone in place. Once you're comfortable with the above controls, it's safer and easier to move on to the next step. As mentioned earlier, this drone can only maintain altitude automatically, and does not have the ability to hover in place. So it is recommended that you master hovering the drone, if possible before proceeding to the next step. While the drone is hovering, move the right stick to move forward, backward, left, and right. And the drone will move forward, backward, left, and right. When landing manually, other than using the auto land button, pull the left stick toward you to descend the drone, and when it touches the ground, pull it all the way toward you to stop the propellers from spinning. Before proceeding with the left stick controls, it is recommended that you turn on headless mode and give it a try. In headless mode, the drone will move forward, backward, left, and right relative to the pilot, regardless of whether the drone is facing forward or backward. To turn on headless mode, connect the drone and controller, calibrate the gyros, and press the right trim button on the bottom left of the controller. To hear a steady beeping sound, to indicate that you are in headless mode. Then take off and move the left stick forward, backward, left, and right. And the drone will ascend, descend, turn left, and turn right. Once you are familiar with the above operations, operate the controller freely within a certain space to get used to controlling the drone. When operating the controller, the basic principle is to apply force gently and slowly without making sudden movements. Let's see how to fix a drone that only moves in one direction. Even though all the parts are mounted correctly, look good, and are gyro calibrated. If the drone is moving in a certain direction forward or backward, use the two trim buttons in the center. If you press and hold the buttons in the opposite direction of the drone's progress, you will hear a beep and some correction will be made. Similarly, if the drone is moving left or right, use the two trim buttons on the bottom right. If you press them briefly, in the opposite direction of the drone's movement, you will hear a beeping sound, which also provides some correction. Once you've gotten the hang of the above, let's learn how to make your drone do a 360-degree turn in the air. Start by hovering in a position where you have enough altitude, and are some distance from the ceiling. After checking the safety of your drone and surroundings, press the right stick to hear a beep. You can then move the right stick forward, backward, left, or right to rotate the drone 360 degrees in that direction. When landing, always follow these procedures. Disconnect the drone and battery first. Then turn off the controller. If the controller is turned off first, it will be impossible to control the drone when it becomes unstable. If you touch the drone's battery after a flight, you will notice that the temperature of the drone's battery has increased. The battery should not be charged at this time, and should be connected to a charger after a while. Drones' batteries should never be eaten, and should not be poked with sharp objects, or subjected to force to cause damage. Also, charge batteries only under human supervision, and disconnect them from the charger as soon as they are fully charged, to prevent overcharging. Disconnect the drone and battery, and check the condition of the drone. Check for binding or deformation of the parts, and put them back in place or replace them. And check the height of the propellers to ensure that the four propellers are at the same height. To store the battery for a long time, after fully charging the battery, fly the drone for about 1 minute, and then disconnect it for long-term storage. This is to keep the battery at about 50 to 60%. Place the drone, batteries, and controller in the box provided and store it in a shady, cool, and dry place. The batteries will last longer if you fly the drone every few months. There is a 1-key return mode and a speed change mode, but they are not recommended for first-time users. And you can refer to the manual for more information on how to use them. No matter how small your paper drone is, it's still a drone, and its propellers are dangerous. So must not fly it near people. Also, keep a certain distance between takeoffs and landings. Recommend flying paper drones indoors, as even light winds can affect their stability and make them very difficult to control. If you have any other questions, please contact us at the following email address. Have a safe flight. Thank you.